Hi Matt, how are you?
Doing very well. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Welcome to episode 13 of Chats with Alex.
Good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
My pleasure. It's been great connecting with you through the open mic nights.
Yeah, man, it's been good watching you perform as well. And I'm always glad when you come down.
I'm loving the vibes of your new songs, Made It Out of Hell and Ride It. What inspired them?
For Made It Out of Hell, that song was just about getting out of bad and just depressing situations, and just the cathartic feeling that you have once you're away from them. Once you start feeling like yourself again. Ride, I guess you could say. Uh, Typically my songs are a bit more on the heavier and aggressive side, and I just felt like I just needed something to break it up. Not totally, but just sort of something that was a bit more on the fun and upbeat side. And I've been told by people that I don't have enough love songs. And, because love songs are hard to write because they can come across as corny and cheesy. So I thought maybe just do something that's a bit more on the fun and energetic side. So I guess you can kind of say that's what sort of inspired that one. So yeah, there's definitely a bit of contrast between those two.
Nice. Do you reckon you could sing a verse and chorus of both of those ones?
Yeah, I can. My throat is feeling just a little bit dry. So, this is an old acoustic guitar that I used to play at a lot of my gigs and open mics with. I don't play this one much now these days, but it still sounds pretty good. Alright, so we can start off a little bit with Made It Out of Hell. Alright, you can see the guitar just a little bit, but let's see. I'll run away, this time is running out, running out. I don't wanna stay, cause this will burn me out, burn me out. All eyes on me, cause I am breaking free from misery. I'm so far beyond, and I'm already gone. I am done, no second thought. This is my only shot. Oh, I got something to tell. This is my long farewell. I'm no longer here to dwell out forever. Made it out of hell.
Very
There
cool.
we go. Thank you.
Do you have a music
Yeah,
video for that?
yeah, I do have a music video for that. I actually worked on that one and released that one last year. So yeah, it's a pretty cool video. It's a video of me as a zombie coming out of the grave, and just finding that spark to help me come back to life.
Did you make that yourself?
I did. I did have a few people help me film the video, but as far as like the editing and all that kind of stuff, that was all done by me. The makeup was done by my sister. She's a makeup artist, so she helped me with the makeup. We we tried to do the makeup scenes. So she did the makeup on me about 4 times. So that was about like 4 different nights of shooting. Um, some of it was done on location, and some of it was done on green screen. Uh, yeah. So so it took about, like, I would say probably about like 4 or 5 days to shoot that video, and then to edit it, it probably took me about 2 or 3 days.
Did you actually go to a graveyard to film that?
No, that was done in my backyard.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like my backyard didn't used to look like that, but then the trees grew bigger, and I thought, what, we can disguise that. So we can make it look, yeah, we can make it look a bit scary.
I really loved it. It was great.
Yeah, thanks.
When I hear the song, I'm getting like a bit of a Blink 182 slash Fallout Boy vibe. Bit of punk rock.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of the music that I grew up with, really. I mean, that was kind of like the genre of music that really uh, started, that really got me to want to start playing guitar and start playing music, Like, as much as I love listening to, like, just music in general, but punk rock was really like my gateway into just wanting to become a performer.
When it comes to musical heroes, who would be like some of your biggest uh, people that you idolized growing up in music?
I mean, I'd have to start with Michael Jackson first. He was really like the first artist that really got me into music. And then, once I was old enough and I started to explore some other artists and sort of started to develop my own taste, I really started getting into bands like The Offspring, Green Day, a little bit of Blink 182, and a little bit of Sum 41. And then many years later, I started to get into more heavier stuff. So bands like Metallica, Killswitch Engage, Slipknot, and then just from there on, my musical taste just started to expand more and more and more. And I pretty much like everything. Mostly like rock, metal orientated kind of stuff. But yeah, my taste started to change into more like some electronic stuff, some jazzy stuff, some synth stuff. Yeah, it. Like a lot of the stuff I listen to, they do sort of have that sort of relationship that like when you do listen to that music, there really is like a lot of connection between like rock, metal, some bluesy stuff, some like it's all just like there is like one conglomerate.
Yeah, I get that connection and the vibe for sure when I hear music. But I'm curious to know, like you mentioned Michael at the start. What is it about Michael that got you into music? Like, if you can just delve a bit deeper into how Michael inspired you.
I think when I was younger, probably his early songs that I remember would either have been "The Way You Make Me Feel" or "Black and White." Pretty much around that era. It was pretty much somewhere between Thriller and Dangerous. It was when Michael started to release some more heavy rock driven stuff. And I guess you can sort of say that that's kind of what's been my gateway to wanting to listen to rock music in general. So like when he has done songs like Dirty Diana, uh, Black or White, or yeah, just anything that had like a really pretty cool riff, I was just immediately drawn into it. And then like just anytime I watch a movie or a TV series, whether it be like I don't know Dragon Ball Z, or if there was like an Action Man commercial or something, I was just always really drawn to heavy sounding guitars. So yeah, and then vocally, I guess. Look, he Michael. I wouldn't say Michael had the best sounding tone in his voice, but he definitely had the agility and the techniques, and he was definitely somebody that was embraced his sound, embraced who he was, and he just wasn't afraid to show it off. He had this unique skill, he had this unique talent, and that was just something that people were just drawn to. And I guess it's sort of one of the things that drew me to him as well, is like just how much of a loving entertainer he is.
Could you ever imagine Michael coming down to open mic night
Um,
if he was still
uh,
alive?
if he was still alive, um, probably not. I mean, he's too high profile to be seen in public. So, I mean, if he wasn't really as famous, I mean, look, potentially his dad was pushing him out into a lot of like, he's trying to really push him out into the public eye, into performing and all that kind of stuff. I'd say it really just depends on, the kind of format that he would have been surrounded by. I mean, yeah, if he didn't really have a lot of those Hollywood options when he was younger, potentially, sure.
What about Ed Sheeran? Can you imagine Ed Sheeran coming to any open mics?
Yeah, I could. He seems like somebody that would really, no matter how famous he gets, he still seems like somebody that could really embrace the pop culture. He still seems like somebody that would like to come down, have a pint, and listen to some live music, and just he seems like someone that would really just appreciate that vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What inspires you to write songs? And when did you start first writing songs?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I was writing a lot of songs per se when I started playing guitar, but I just loved making riffs. You know, like I was really just drawn into the electric guitar for as long as I can remember. I started off acoustically, but I've always just been into like big, chunky, heavy riffs. Um, I liked listening to solos, but I wasn't really a solo-driven guy. Like I didn't care about learning like the Sweet Child of Mine solo or Eruption by Van Halen. I just wanted to learn like big, chunky, heavy riffs. You know, so uh, so I was always just trying to like make heavy music like that. But then once I started like singing and getting into open mics and started figuring out like where my voice is and what suits me best, is probably when I started to take the songwriting aspect a bit more seriously, and probably once I started going to more open mics and just figuring out what sort of crowds I'll sort of be working around with. So what inspires me to write a song, it just depends. Like sometimes, like I feel like my best songs are the ones that just come to me naturally, where I'm not trying to force an idea out, or I'm trying to like, like forced to make changes to a riff. Sometimes you do have to put in a bit of effort if you're actually in the middle of the song. But I usually find that the best sounding songs that start off with are the ones that you just come up with by accident. So like the last couple of songs I've written released over the past few years have just been ones that I've just made up on the guitar, like unconsciously, and like I'm not really sure what the song's about, but I'm liking the riff that I'm coming up with, and slowly, I'm starting to paint a picture in my head on where the song should go, and like how I should deliver it, how I should perform it, and what it should be about, and I just sort of just work it from there.
And the next one you released is this one, Rider. When did this one drop?
Ride that came out last week. So yeah, I filmed a video for it maybe around November of last year. Uh, and that was all done on green screen. That was all done in my garage. Um, yeah, like learning from when I was working on the music video from Made It Out of Hell and even the lyric video for that song. Working with the green screen kind of opened up my eyes, and like I just wanted to do something different for the video, because in almost every music video I have, there's always some sort of side story or something on the side of my performance that's happening. But now that I've got a green screen, I thought I can do so many different things with this and keep it all interesting as one person. Because when you're a solo artist and if you don't have a band, you kind of need something to fill in those gaps in the music video. It can't just be focused on you just performing. Whereas with Ride, because I had the green screen and I can change outfits and looks and effects and this and that, I was like, wow, we can actually do it and get away with it. So, yeah.
It's a feeling that's pulsating, and the beat just hits so hard. And the circle of ecstasy now, and I fall right back to you. Oh, the flame ignites inside, I feel.
Can you play a bit of Ride?
Okay? It's a feeling that's pulsating, and the beat just hits so hard. And in the circle of ecstasy now, and I fall right back to you. Oh, the flame ignites inside, I feel the night, yeah. Oh, the flame ignites inside, just beating when I am behind the wheel now. Whoa, it's electrifying with you, yeah. So you have got me now. I'll follow you down to the end of the road. Oh, let's take a ride. There's no turning back from you, yeah. So you have got me now. I'll follow you down to the end of the road. Oh, let's take a ride. There you go.
Nice. What inspired that one?
Um, I guess you could say it was like a previous relationship that kind of inspired that song. So yeah, I just felt like that could have just been the next thing to write about. So yeah.
If you could collaborate with anyone around the world, who would it be?
Oh, geez, what a question. It would depend on what I'm trying to make and what the reason would be. I suppose if I was just wanting to do it for the sake of being rich, maybe Ed Sheeran, because he could probably help me out with the songwriting part of it. If I wanted someone to help me, at least help improve my vocal ability or just change some vocal styles, it'd have to be somebody like Corey Taylor or James Hetfield or Chris Daughtry, somebody with a good rock voice. Um, and I
I can
guess,
imagine you with Chris Daughtry. Yeah, that'd be good.
yeah, he's a pretty good singer. I really like his music and what he does. I'm more of a fan of his newer, more recent stuff because it sounds more heavy. Um, and I don't know. I guess if it was somebody that could help me with the mixing side of things, at least probably someone like Bob Rock. I think Bob Rock is a pretty good producer. Like he's produced some pretty good Metallica albums, and he's produced the last Offspring album. He's worked on a lot of Offspring albums, I should say. But yeah, he's definitely someone that's up there and pretty well regarded. So,
And if you could have dinner with someone that's an artist, who would it be? Like three people, let's say, alive or dead.
jeez, dinner. Who got to have dinner with, man? Um, it would probably have to be someone that I've seen go on the hot ones, at least. Because I like eating spicy food. So off the top of my head, who's been on the so I know Ed Sheeran's been on hot ones. And he seemed like he had a pretty high tolerance for it. Dave Grohl, sorry, I should say. Dave Grohl, yeah. And sorry, I should actually mention he's probably another one of those artists I would like to work with too, because he's a pretty good musician. So, and he's definitely someone I would like to have dinner with. One more, jeez. You know what, look, we'll go for a female because I haven't put any females on the list. Let's say Olivia Rodrigo. I think out of all the new up-and-coming artists today, she's definitely one of the better ones, especially because she plays guitar at a lot of her shows, and you can tell that it's very punk and grunge inspired, but she's also got a very folk style as well, and she's bringing a style of music that isn't exactly popular on the radio at the moment, and she's getting it to work. So, yeah.
What do you think of all those talent shows, like the Simon Cowell ones? What do you think of Simon Cowell in general?
All right, Simon Cowell. It depends on what you want to watch those shows for. Like obviously when it comes to the early Idol and X Factor shows, like you watch him because that was when he was at his funniest. He was just like insulting the musicians and
It was dreadful. No, no, really dreadful. And I'm saying that to be kind because you will never, ever, ever have a career in singing.
I don't believe you.
I'm telling you.
I don't believe you.
I'm telling you.
Well, you can tell me all you want, but I won't believe you.
Remember these words, you're not a singer.
Right. I can honestly say you are the worst singer in America.
Really?
Truthfully.
Well, that's my first audition, so.
Well, I'm not surprised, and it should be your last.
You haven't got a 10 out of 10 voice. At best, I would give you 2.5.
Thank you very much.
And that's being generous.
I've got absolutely no idea why you've had any encouragement whatsoever. It's about as bad as it can possibly get.
I'm going to just warn you now. If you want to
Okay.
carry on being a smartass, you can leave the room.
Oh, I'm not being a smart.
So either answer the questions
Okay.
or leave.
but you can get away with things like that back then. The culture wasn't so PC back then. But now that the culture's sort of shifted, I've noticed more since post-COVID. That you do have to sort of be careful with how you talk to people and treat people. He is gotten a bit more on the politer side.
You know what? You are an extraordinary young man. We hear too many stories about people being bullied, but I can tell you one thing. Most people are bullied because they're better than the people who bully them. You know that? And I think you have such an amazing talent, such a personality, and I would like to say something on your behalf to the bullies.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's fine. It just depends on what you're trying to watch those shows for, But as far as like the talent side of things, I mean, look, I still think that there's some enjoyment for people to watch those shows. I don't really think that those shows are really as necessary or as relevant as they were like back then, or at least in Australia. At least they're definitely not. I mean, like it's really hard to just break it and be famous as an Australian artist, no matter what road you decide to take. Maybe for someone in America or anything like that. But those shows are fine. Like I think where some people are having the problem with those shows Uh, and you probably get asked this all the time too. When you tell, has this ever happened to you? You tell people you're a singer, and they say, "Oh, have you ever thought about going on Australian Idol?"
Yeah.
But they say that, well, like, yeah, it's like you tell somebody, "Yeah, I go to the gym." Oh, have you thought about trying out for the Mr. Olympia? I drive a car. You thought about joining the Grand Prix? Oh, I got a girlfriend. Oh, have you thought about becoming a porn star and joining OnlyFans? It's like there's always one bullshit thing that leads to the next. But look, in a serious way, like when people do ask you, it's like, would you ever go on those shows? If I genuinely had what it took, and if I genuinely had what those people were looking for, I would. But I wouldn't go on those shows expecting a record deal to become famous. I would go on a show like that because you got to go on there to fish for a bigger audience. And I think that's where some people can fall flat sometimes. Like they go on those shows thinking that, yep, that's it. My life is going to change. I'm going to become the next big thing. All my problems are going to go away. It's like, no, this is just another stepping stone like everything else. You go in there and it's up to you to try and fetch those audiences, to try and grab them to... It's the same thing like how you would do at a gig. Like you really have to try hard to like perform and make sure that you do gain some sort of followers, whether it's through social media or if they want to come back to that venue and see you again, or if they want to see you somewhere else. I mean... like that's what shows like that now are, that's what they're designed for, like to it's audience capture, and you can use that to your advantage. But, I certainly, at least now, I certainly don't fit into that circle of the industry for sure.
But you never know unless you try it.
It depends. Like, I think I'm pretty cluey on, like, what audiences would respond to and what they wouldn't. So, I don't think that, especially because that's more of like a very pop-driven show, like you either need to have some really pop stuff or you need to have some sort of vocal ability that's really going to catch their attention. And, I would like to work towards it for sure. But, I think I'm, like I'm good enough to be somebody that, like a venue could hire for the night to play in their pub, because venues generally don't always look for that kind of person who can like absolutely stand out, like as long as you just sort of like not standing out in a bad way, which is what most of us do try to aim for anyway, then you're good.
I think with those shows, even if you're like shown one time, or not even on those shows, just anywhere on the TV, people like react differently. Like you start getting calls from people you've never heard of for years and stuff like that. So just like I feel like one look in on anything, just like I don't know.
They're calling you like, oh, you're rich and famous now. Do you think you'll lend me like a couple $100? Then that's probably the person you don't want to hear that from. So
nah.
Yeah, but you're right. No, like you're right. You do get. Yeah, there is a response that you do get when you go on one of those types of shows because like not everyone, has the chops to do it. Not everyone has the guts to do it. But really, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like I said, you really don't need those shows now. Like, if you're pretty clever with the marketing and how to do the audience capture on your own with like YouTube and all that kind of stuff, you can be pretty good. But again, like if you were to go on those shows, I would say just don't put all your eggs in that basket. Like think of a backup plan. Think of something that you can do to capture that audience and get them to follow you.
Yeah, no, it's good if you can do your own thing. You don't really need those shows these days because like everything's easily accessible.
Well, I mean, I'm really out of my bounds when I say this. I don't even really think you need even labels for that matter. But I mean, like labels are handy, like if you do want to expand into like the international market for sure, and if you want to perform on bigger and better stages with bigger artists. But who knows what that's going to look like in 10 or 20 years time. I mean, like there's still demand for it. There's still demand for all these big shows, but it's just the people that are behind the scenes, they're just not financially keeping up with what the with where the market's going. So
do you think you could break out in another country being an independent artist without a record label?
I could potentially break out in the US, I think, because, at least from what I've seen on my analytics, with my original music, it seems to do well more in the US and probably even like Germany, for example, and Italy, surprisingly. They're probably the only two European countries that I found that my style of music works, but US will probably be like I mean, the US doesn't seem like a safe or stable place to go to right now, so I might just wait a little bit longer until the temperature turns down, and then maybe I'll think about it, but yeah.
Whereabouts would you want to go in the US?
Probably LA. I know it'd be like a very, very busy place, but LA seems like there would be like the creative hub.
What about Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, Nashville is probably a bit more of a country vibe, but I wouldn't dismiss it. You would still go there. It just depends on how open-minded and how accepting those people would be. It seems like LA would accept. It seems like LA would have a much more broad acceptance of different styles of music. Yeah, I don't know, but it's hard to say because I've never been in these places, so I'm only just saying this as somebody who's on the outside looking in. So yeah, look, probably LA or even, I mean, hey, even if Vegas had some pretty good open mics, sure. I mean, like I'm much of a nightlife person, so I wouldn't mind checking out somewhere like Vegas or Miami. Uh, I
Yeah.
have heard from people. New York has a pretty decent open mic scene, but it's more of a cafe scene. It's not really much of a live pub bar scene. So
I think Nashville accepts like a lot of Australian artists. That's all I know.
yeah, I mean, almost everywhere around the world would accept us. We're definitely a different. We're definitely different compared to the US. So we're yeah, we're definitely nice. We're very nice people for sure.
Have you been
Very easy.
overseas in Europe?
I haven't been anywhere overseas at all yet. No,
Oh,
I mean,
really?
like, I only traveled outside of Victoria just recently. Like, I've traveled outside of Victoria once as a child, but I've been to Sydney a few times. I did a gig there once at the start of last year. I do plan on going there again this year, hopefully to score some more gigs, or at the very least, just go to some open mic nights. Um, but it was a fun experience, like the live music scene in Melbourne compared to Sydney. I mean, look, it's hard to say because I haven't stayed in Sydney long enough to really give a proper determination of it. But at least, like, as far as like Sydney's CBD, they seem to be uh, very open to a lot of like acoustic artists and cover artists and all that kind of stuff. As far as like Melbourne CBD, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Melbourne, we definitely have a lot more of a, we're definitely a lot more open to styles compared to other places. Like we're definitely a lot more. We definitely thrive off the. We definitely thrive off music. We're definitely a much more creative bunch compared to Sydney for sure. So, but look, Sydney still does have a pretty decent music scene. They pay pretty well too, and it's yeah. I'd say look, if you're looking for any other place other than Melbourne, probably Sydney's probably another place to go to.
Yeah, I've been there before. It's nice. It's got a good scene. Um, for open mics, do you enjoy seeing people coming to open mics and doing their original songs as well as covers?
I mean, I'm planning on doing a video about this one day. I don't know if you've seen me make a video about Let's Talk About Open Mic Nights. I do plan on doing a video on covers versus originals. You
Yeah,
know,
I've seen it.
'Cause- yeah, I will do a video on that topic one day because that's one of the topics that bothers me. How there's just this dichotomy between covers and originals. Like I'm more of a kind of person where what I just want to enjoy the song. I don't care if it's a cover or original. If you can if I can connect with you as an artist and if I can connect with the way you're playing that song, I don't care if it's a cover or original.
Mm.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say I have a preference over one or the other. No, I just say it depends on the artist and like how they play the song, what makes them feel good, what makes me feel good as a listener. So,
What would you say to someone who thinks that their song is really good, but in actual fact it's not that good? What would you say to that person?
it depends how crazy they are. Yeah, jeez, I don't know. It depends on the kind of person I'm dealing with, like, yeah, you really gotta have to try and, like, if it's somebody that's a close friend and that I can be upfront and honest with, like, I wouldn't have a problem with saying, like, dude, like, rethink that, like, seriously, that's not the greatest. Uh, but if I'm dealing with someone who seems to be a bit more, uh, who seems to be a little bit too in touch with their emotions and who is likely to uh, retaliate in a very not so pleasant way, I would have to rethink about how I can talk about it. I mean, look, these are the kind of skills you have to learn anyway. Even if you're someone who's like doing videography or like audio recording for people, like you really got to, like the one thing you can always say to somebody is like, so how do you feel about that? How are we feeling about that? Like, I can run some suggestions. Why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? It really just depends on how you communicate with them. But read who they are first. if there's a kind of person that can take a little bit of honesty, sure, but you're always better off going to the more uh, reserved and like restrictive route. Like just be very cautious in how you talk to them. And yeah, just if it's really getting to a point where like let's just say for example, if someone came down to my open mic and they were just not really vibing with the rest of the lineup or with the with what the venue's expectations are. I mean, look, unless I get confronted, I'll be happy to like suggest to them like, look, maybe we can figure out a different style of music that's gonna keep the vibe of the night more consistent, or else I just won't book that person again.
Do you think image plays a part, like how the person looks, or not really?
Absolutely, yeah, I think it can. Not always, but it can. Like it's definitely one of the things that will get people to stop and see what you're doing. It is a package deal. You need to have a good look. You need to have a good sound. But look, I've seen some people where they've had just either one or the other, and look, it still works well in their favour. You don't always have to go to the most extreme route, but it works. Whatever catches somebody's eye, and it depends on what you're doing too. If we're talking about a music video, if we're talking about a performance, but you also, if you are going to be like an image-based person, for example, you can't just have that be your one and only focus. Like there has to be some substance to it. You know what I mean? It's like, when you look at bands like Slipknot or Ghost, they have the image, but they've also got the substance to back up that image. Or even if you look at someone like Lady Gaga and, or even like Olivia Rodrigo, she's trying to go down to the more like a provocative outfit sort of route. But again, those artists have got something with substance to back that up, So, and when I say by substance, I mean like they have like good songs that people can actually get into and like enjoy. So, you can't just be this person who's just trying to show off their looks, but you don't have like the best sound to back it up. So, there needs to be something there that people can enjoy.
And what makes you connect with the original song from any artist? Is it like voice or the way they deliver the performance, or a bit of both?
It depends on the artist. There are some artists where I can't understand what they're singing with the lyrics, but I can connect to their voice. Or there are some people where I can't connect to their voice, but I can listen to their lyrics and I'm like, oh wow, that sounds pretty unique and pretty special. So and sometimes it's both. Sometimes they do have a good voice and they have good lyrics. So yeah, it just really just depends on the song.
Nice. What's your favorite type of music to listen to?
Anything rock metal driven, I would say, would be like my number one favorite. A very close second will be anything that's like more like jazz, chill jazz. And I also like listening to like some synthwave, like 80s style, like synth music, and some new disco. I like some new disco. Like, you'd be surprised if you jump in my car. Sometimes you don't know what music is going to be playing out on my Spotify. Like I know not to play like some of the more heavy stuff because I know not everyone's going to enjoy that. So I try to make the music in my car like as accommodating and as welcoming as possible. But it's not always just for the sake of like someone's in my car. It's just like, well, no, I genuinely like to listen to this kind of music too. It just depends on what mood that I'm in. So
yeah,
and sometimes you got to listen to different stuff. Like otherwise you just go nuts just listening to the same thing over and over again.
Do you ever listen to music from like fellow music friends?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. No, like whether it be people that still come down to my open mic or people that I've seen from my past. And like if they, this is also assuming that they've even like released stuff on Spotify, or I would listen to something that I would have recorded on my phone, and I've had it saved on my phone. Like, they don't have a release for this, but lucky I got a recording of it or a version of that song. So yeah, so I do that. Yeah.
And what do you think it would take for someone like with a really good song to get to be on the radio?
I mean, probably the most obvious answer is going to be the networking part of it for sure. It's all about connections and who that can help you get on the radio for one thing. But otherwise, if you're somebody who is not connected, really, you just got to just try and like expand your circle as much as you can, whether it is going to different open mics or different venues, or one of those. I don't know what you call them, but like I've been invited to plenty of them and haven't gone to one yet. But sometimes there's like these groups where like, and I get messages of this on Instagram all the time where like there's some sort of like function or some sort of group thing where artists and collaborators and
Oh yeah,
all that stuff. Perhaps you know what I'm trying to talk about?
I've been
Yeah.
to one of
So
those. Yeah,
I haven't been to a single one of those yet, but I'd say something like that could be an option to go for. And look, even just boosting your social media content, just trying to get it out there, you know. I would also probably even suggest like like because the content is definitely a big one. It's definitely an important one. Probably just don't have everything on any of your socials just about music. Like music is going to be like the main thing that you're trying to sell, but have some other things on there because again, it just goes back to what we were talking about when it came to Idol. You got to fish for more audiences. So if you can deliver content which can like still search for that audience, that's probably another way to go about it too.
collaborations would help too, I would say.
Collaboration, yeah. Again, that just falls under networking. So like
Yeah.
if you know the people, who can sort of get you involved in those places. So yeah, and collaborating can help too. So that was actually one advice that one of my teachers from high school gave me. He said, "Don't start a band, join a band that's already established, and just benefit off their success." Yeah, it sounds silly, but he is correct. Like that's probably like especially nowadays, like if you want to get to like the Marvel stadium level of being an artist, that's probably going to be your best chance for now. I mean, yeah, geez, I don't know how a new artist is going to be able to get to that stage. That's going to be a very interesting thing to look for.
You need a good manager, I would think.
You need a good manager. You also need like a dedicated following.
A
Like
website.
a website. I mean, like yeah, again, you just need like a dedicated following, and you just need a good manager, tour manager, really good agent. People like anybody who's sort of behind the scenes who knows how the business side of things work, who know how to sort of push and market for you. I mean, look, it's beneficial that the artist learns that stuff themselves, but at the same time, you do need someone to sort of do that for you, like because there's only going to be so much that you can do all on your own.
I
At
feel
some
like
point,
Tones and I is a good example because she's from Melbourne.
yeah, Tones and I is one of them. Yeah, I think she's like the only like recent like. I even remember that same teacher that was talking about said that. Do you remember an old band from Australia called the Galvatrons?
I've heard of that before. Yeah.
Yeah. He said that he saw them once at an airport, like carrying all their gear from like one, like, just carrying all their gear, their amps and all kind of stuff with no assistance, no nothing, and he just knew straight away their career wasn't gonna take off, and yeah, I don't know if they're like on hiatus or I don't know if they're disbanded, but like it was pretty clear, like I haven't heard a massive success from them since then, so.
What's your hopes and dreams for the future with your music, Matt? And what you're doing?
I mean, I'd like to keep releasing music, and I keep saying this every year. At some stage, I do want to get a band together and start performing on my originals at more venues. Uh, so that's definitely going to be a goal for me of mine. And yeah, I'm just hoping that I can try and get my music onto as many platforms as I can. Like it's already like doing well on like YouTube and Instagram and Spotify, but still it'd be nice to sort of get it more and more out there, trying to push it out to more different countries and more different spaces, and just keep writing and making different types of music. I think I will do some slightly different genres as well. And that's the benefit about just like doing things on a single basis is that you can be as experimental as you want. So that's just kind of what I hope to keep doing, to keep releasing music and hopefully get a band started and like perform these originals out live and give audiences the full experience.
Nice. And continue hopefully hosting more open mic nights, amazing ones.
Yeah, well, I'm still looking for more venues to expand to, and I'm hoping that LSE will turn into more than just an open mic format. Hopefully, that can turn into like some sort of an agency or some sort of format where we can help other up and coming artists get them gigs, whether it be like cover gigs or even just like original gigs, 3-hour gigs, or like 45-minute gigs anywhere, just whatever. Like all options are on the table for that.
Oh, good luck with that. What's your Instagram handle?
Handle?
Yeah, you're at.
My Instagram. Oh, okay. So my Instagram is just my name, Matt Cynner.
Okay, cool. And you're on Spotify and YouTube too, yeah?
Spotify, YouTube. I am trying with TikTok. I'm like one of those old people that doesn't know how to use a phone when it comes to TikTok. I'm still trying to figure it out. Uh, I don't. Are people still using Facebook much these days? Not really. I don't know. I find it. I cannot remember the last time I found out about a new artist through Facebook. It's either been through TikTok or Instagram or even YouTube. So yeah,
Yeah, I think
Facebook
you're right there.
or YouTube. Yeah, they're probably going to be the three main go-tos.
Yeah. And do you have a website?
I do. So it's mattcynner.com.
Very nice. What do you love most about what it is you're doing?
Well, the fact that I get to perform for one thing. Any opportunity that I host and organize an open mic night or a gig. I mean, it's just an opportunity for me to connect with audiences, have a good time, and to hopefully put a smile on people's faces, and to sort of walk out of that venue thinking and feeling like, yes, I am doing something that I enjoy. I'm doing something that is for me, and I'm doing something that is for the people. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I don't care about being like the next big superstar or anything like that. Everyone has that dream, like, when they pick up the guitar, that's what they want to do. For me, I'm just like, I just want to get out and play for people. You know what I mean? And I just want to make sure that people are enjoying what I'm doing, however they may look. So that's kind of where it sits for me. So as long as people are enjoying what I'm doing, then I really have nothing to complain about. That's for me. That's my definition of my idea of success.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining me here, Matt. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and I think you're doing a really, really good thing. Any contribution to the music scene is a good contribution, whether it's you doing the podcasts, me organizing open mics, or anybody who's just busking on the street. It's really, I think it's a really, really important thing that we take it amongst ourselves to make sure that the Melbourne music scene stays alive. Because like as we were talking about before, it just seems like it's getting really, really harder for a lot of people to try and make a living out of it, and for people to try and just keep it going. And it's in our hands. We got to do it. So and it's fun. It doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like like it's a burden. It just feels like something that we're passionate about, and we just want to keep doing.
And how could you describe the Melbourne music scene to someone who is not from Melbourne?
We definitely have a very high creative energy here, and that we're very we're very driven to keep live music alive. For one, however they may look, whether it's performing at big stadiums or big theaters or even small venues, cafes, or any of that kind of stuff. No matter what the size is, we're always very supportive of anybody who has that creative energy and that wants to show off and express it.
Any parting message you want to leave us with?
Parting message. No, so thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for anybody who's stuck around for this long to watch the podcast, and be sure to keep an eye out for many other events that I'll be organising, and many other songs I'll be releasing too. Subscribe to Alex's channel as well. Be on the lookout for more chats that he'll have with other awesome musicians, and yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity.